Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here. This is your Planning Outlook video updated on Tuesday evening the 28th of November. Now, cold northerly winds will dominate the rest of this week, but less cold conditions moving in from the Atlantic into the weekend, so freezing levels will lift, although higher tops may stay close to freezing. And then quite a battleground going on into next week between various air masses moving towards the British Isles. It may well be that colder air from the north eventually is the most dominant factor and does win out. Now we're going to start this video sometimes where we finish these recordings just looking at the bigger picture and just trying to set the scene where we're going over the next week or so. In the short term, we've got cold northerlies coming around an area of high pressure that is centred to the west of us. Over the Atlantic, meanwhile, some very mild air is being pulled northwards towards Greenland, just all encirculating around that big blocking high. The jet stream and areas of low pressure at the moment are being held at bay, which is why we're not seeing the more wetter, windier weather that we may see at this time of year. Instead, we're seeing those cold northerlies streaming down from the Arctic. And that's the way of things for the next few days. Let's just run things on then over a few days further forwards. Notice the date in the top of the screen there. This is through Thursday into Friday, and gradually that high is just allowing some less cold air to move around its northern flanks, and that will be sinking towards the British Isles as we go through Friday into the weekend. So freezing levels will rise. We're just cutting off that direct northerly by this stage. Temperatures lifting a little bit by this time as well. So overall, the weekend looking less cold. We'll show you some temperature charts in a moment, just seeing how things are going to play out on the mountains. It may well be the higher tops never quite make it above freezing, so the snow cover that's around only thawing very slowly, or on the higher tops is most likely staying in place. Then things quite tricky as we go forwards into next week. We've got high pressure focused somewhere to the southwest of us. We've got a high that's over Greenland as well, becoming quite a strong feature, and low pressure somewhere around the Norwegian Sea that's trying to draw in northerly winds again from the Arctic. Also, we've got quite deep areas of low pressure developing over the mid-Atlantic, and all these weather systems will try and interact with each other to some extent early next week. At the moment, it's not an easy one to see just which weather system will have the most dominance. So it's all a bit of a battleground. We've got cold air trying to come down from the north. We've got milder air just trying to edge in from the southwest around that high. Looks as though an area of the high pressure moves away towards Biscay, but notice that big high that's focused out over Greenland, and it's that's trying to pull cold air back down from the north. Charts may not look exactly like this, but I think something of an area of low pressure coming off the Atlantic and fronts in across the northern part of British Isles trying to get in, and it's that battle between the air masses then that really takes hold early next week, and it could give some quite active weather. It just depends how this whole pattern plays out by this stage, between the mild air from the south, cold air towards the north, a mix of rain and snow. Exactly where the fronts lie and where freezing levels lie will be a big factor in just who gets what in terms of rain or snow next week. But it could be quite interesting over a few days. Not one that we can get too clever with details, but that just generally sets the scene. And I think it may well be the cold air from the north that does win out. That's a big area of high pressure that's over Greenland that's trying once again to pull some very cold air down across the country. Let's have a look at some temperatures then. This is the 850 millibar chart. It's at around 4,500 to 5,000 feet in the atmosphere. It gives us a pretty decent steer for those highest summits. And over the next few days, very cold air is across the country then. Values at that level around -9, even temperatures close to -10 just north of Scotland. You can see it on the chart there. So highest summits temperatures could be -7, -8 quite easily over these next few days. Freezing levels right the way down and terrain frozen pretty much from low levels up. So run things on through into the weekend. You can just see how things gradually change as that less cold air topples in from the Atlantic. This is through into Friday. You're still going to be below freezing across most of the mountains, but just a gradual lift in temperatures looking believable by this time. Notice though how those temperatures never quite make it above freezing across Scotland. This is through into Saturday, and I think the idea of those higher tops being near or just below freezing looks believable, but it will be seeing a lift in the freezing level, so lower slopes will see quite a marked thaw, and really temperatures in the glens and the valleys coming up to around 6 or 7 Celsius I would have thought through into the weekend. So as we go forwards into next week, just briefly, you can see how temperatures are relatively less cold compared to what we are just at the moment. If we just skim the sequence on just for a few days into next week, you'll see how things don't change a great deal. And just a hint then of colder air trying to pile up again towards the north as time goes on, but a long way forwards at that stage, so confidence is quite low. Just to finish with then, briefly a look at the synoptic charts for Friday and the weekend. Not really a great deal we can get out of the detail at this time. Basically for Friday, a warm front is moving in from the northwest. There's some low cloud and drizzly rain, preceded by some snow into the highlands, but not a great deal on it. It's not a particularly active front. Towards the south of that, you're still in fairly crisp, clear air, with some sunshine just turning hazy as high cloud begins to thicken. Through Saturday, that front edges its way further southward, so it could be rather murky skies, low cloud across many western mountains, down to Snowdonia as well through this stage. Maybe just some lifting cloud bases across Scotland, mainly towards the eastern side of the Highlands. The wind strengthening, just need to watch the detail of this, just how the high pressure to the west does behave by this stage. A cold front just towards the north is trying to encroach in, but all in all, could be a largely dry day, just fairly cloudy. The question really just how much that cloud will break up. And through Sunday, something of a weak front trailing across the country. Again, not too much precipitation around, could be just bits and pieces of sleet or wet snow in the air, but I don't think amounting to a great deal. The wind flow generally from the west or northwest, so your best bet for highest cloud bases is probably towards the Cairngorms, the southeastern side of the Highlands. If that front is stuck across the Lake District, you could find rather a grey, drizzly sort of day here. So stay right up to date with the very latest information over the next few days on our website. We'll update this full planning video again for you on Friday, looking in more detail at next week. And between now and then, we'll update the shorter range videos as well. Those are now on the website on the videos section here at the Mountain Weather Information Service. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.